We're going to have a happy tea time together.
Nick, my friend.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, dear. It's so nice having you
Thank
stop
you for having
by.
me. Appreciate it.
Oh, I thank you. But for years, I've known you, and I have been in awe of you.
Thank you.
Because how you took your handicap and turned it into such a positive thing. I've never, in all the years I've known you, ever seen you complain. However, I've seen you play pool. I have heard about you lifting weights up to 300 pounds when you were younger.
Yes, ma'am.
I also know that you were a stutterer, that your wife Lindsay told me you stuttered so bad in school that you could barely get your name out.
Correct. Correct.
And as bullied as you were, I'm sure you were bullied, you overcame all of that to be a motivational speaker. You also have your successful kicking and punting school and being a wellness coach. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
If we have any folks viewing this who know anybody who's been bullied or has a disability, I hope they'll tune in to Nick's story. It's quite amazing.
Thank you.
So Nick, can you take us back to when you were a young boy, what life was like?
Oh, absolutely. Kind of as I always tell people during my talks is that, I take you back to, growing up, honestly. Wasn't ever really told why I was born, how I was born. So there were days that I would be picked on and made fun of, and I actually wore a prosthetic up until 4th grade. I never really understood, and there were days that I'd come home crying to my parents and mom and dad, why? And I can truly attest to my parents telling me over and over again, and I never really understood until later on in life, was that you're made the way you are for a specific reason, and you're going to learn about that as life goes on. You touched on having a stuttering issue. That started when I was 8 years old when my grandmother passed away in October of '85. She and I were very, very close. She was my buddy. And when she passed away, it was a very traumatic experience for me. And I can remember the night before her funeral, being in the funeral home. They were about to close her up and I would never see her again. I can remember just breaking down in just pure emotional, just meltdown mode. And I remember being carried out by my mom and my dad, and I was just a mess. And that's when they started to realize, after that moment, that I started stuttering and started tripping over words, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And we kind of joke now is that that's the way that my grandmother stuck with me forever. Is, she was like, I'm going to stay with you, and this is going to be why. So ultimately, being born without the lower half of my right arm, stuttering added another thing to it, and people picked up on it. So between being picked on because I had one arm, I couldn't get my words out, I couldn't say my name, kids are brutally honest, and we all know that because kids don't understand right from wrong, or let's not say that because we don't know. So it factors into being picked on and made fun of and made to cry, and but as I said, it's that thanks to my parents always telling me things are going to change for the better, don't worry, and you'll understand why. As I went through elementary school and junior high, I went to a speech pathologist, which helped me learn how to overcome my stuttering. She was really good about giving me techniques and helping me learn to breathe. And over the years, doing a lot of interviews, as I've made a lot of people mad, especially the people interviewing me on TV, because I would shut my eyes all the time. And that was my ability to stay calm, and I was reading the words I wanted to say off the back of my eyelids. And I actually learned that technique from a college professor who would walk in and talk for an entire hour with his eyes closed because he was reading, and he knew his notes because he was seeing them on the back of his eyelids. So progressing, and over the years and growing up and getting into sports and playing all kinds of sports such as football, basketball, baseball, soccer, tennis, swim team, etc. Is that I started learning that I was good at certain things, and of course over time learning that I was good at kicking the football. So over the years the sports I loved playing sort of petered out because I realized I wouldn't go far with them. And learning that I could play football very well, learning I could kick a football very well, I started to realize that over time, as I was starting to migrate more toward playing football more and more, soccer was a big part of my life, and I attribute that to teaching me how to kick well. But then when the coaches started coming around and showing interest in my kicking, I realized I had an opportunity. And I always tell people now is that only 1% of all high school athletes play at the collegiate, play in college. And I realized that I was possibly going to be able to be part of that 1%.
Outstanding.
I went to junior college up at Moline, which is about an hour and a half up the road, and truly was taught everything that I followed today, from discipline to how to be a better man, how to do what you're supposed to do and take care of your business, and was blessed to play with a lot of great men and play under a lot of great coaches, and had a stellar junior college career as well. Was blessed to go on and play at the Division I level and transferred to Arkansas State University and got my education paid for on a full scholarship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I didn't
it was
realize
crazy. Oh
that.
yes, oh yes. Thank you. So, got to go to college and play at the highest level and play against, college teams you only dream about and hear about. Graduated with a degree in political science. So I love politics, I love government. But, I realized too, when the coaches started coming again, that I was possibly going to be part of the 1% that plays at the professional ranks.
Excellent.
And was a projected 7th round draft pick coming out of college in 2001. They had me going in the 7th round to the New York Giants, so graduated, came home, trained, got myself ready to go and play, and that phone call never came, Donna. And I was kind of crushed, but I knew that if I stuck to my faith and I just did what I was supposed to do, that if I was meant to play professionally, then I would. Well, a year later, and I was back at Klein as the in-school suspension teacher and a volunteer coach and just helping out. And, I finally got the phone call, and it was from the arena football team in Orlando, Florida. And they say things happen for a reason, and they say that your life can change in a matter of minutes, hours, or
Absolutely.
days. And within 7 days, I had gone from getting a phone call from a team I had no idea who they were, to 7 days later playing on national television for millions of people. And ultimately set the tone for the next 13 years of, being able to say that I played pro football for 13 years. And over the years, people started taking notice that I was a professional and that I have a talent and I have a gift. And ultimately started getting phone calls. We know you're a kicker, we know you play professionally. Could you help our son? And that's sort of how I got into training kids as well. I built my kicking and punting school, which is 4th and 10 kicking and punting, for the last 10 years now. And as you said, now I travel the country and I speak.
I was just
and,
thinking that.
Now I do motivational speaking. I work with USA football with our men's national teams. I work with our with other teams as well. And just a true blessing to say now that I look back and growing from being picked on to being teased and made fun of to now being able to stand on stage in front of hundreds or even thousands of people and to motivate them to go achieve what their true potential is.
When you were bullied, how did you overcome that? Because children are so mean and brutal when they're young.
Yeah.
I know you said you cried and all. What was the turning point from that bullying?
There was a time when I came to that crossroad of, do I take my arm and do I go do something with it, or do I take my arm and just feel sorry for the rest of my life and look for handouts and look for, oh, poor me. But obviously I took option A. And it was because my dad was finally telling me, learn how to tie your shoes, or I was learning how to be normal, learning how to do weights and how to be just a normal guy. And ultimately I said, I've got to figure this thing out. And that's what I ultimately did, was I made that choice and learned how to tie a shoe, learned how to tie a tie, learned to put put on a dress shirt, which I didn't have to worry about buttoning a sleeve. It's those small things which ultimately make a big difference in life.
And I noticed you when you type faster than I do with two hands.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes,
I went, wow, Nick, thank you, sweetie.
You're very
As
welcome.
I said, I'm in awe of you.
Thank you.
And I love your attitude, and And this website is geared for positivity, encouragement. And so thank you for visiting us today.
You're very welcome.
Thank
Thank you
you
for having me.
so
I appreciate
much.
it.